Dipti, you and I both wearing high heels today.
That's right, but it's not mandated by our bosses. Maybe we should make that clear. But it's a choice. It's a choice.
I'm not
today.
wearing high heels, but I am 6 foot.
Nobody
So
can
if
see
I
it
did,
anyway.
yeah,
Well, maybe if you weren't 6 foot tall, you might.
I might want them.
Might want to revise that decision, just like
Exactly.
the British lawmakers are doing. Thanks very much for the business update, Stephen. He'll be back a bit later on for us. Well, we will move on to our international press review with Dipti Laurent. And Dipti, we're not talking about high heels. We're talking about much more serious matters. We've got this new revised travel ban from Donald Trump, now affecting 6 mainly Muslim countries, not the previous 7.
That's right. Trump's travel ban light. That's how the editors at the New York Times have called it. A lighter version that, as you said, excludes Iraq, makes little mention or no mention of religious preferences, and makes the ban on Syrian refugees temporary. For the Times, though, while it may disrupt fewer lives, the new ban conveys the same, quote, spurious messages that Muslims are inherently dangerous. I quote from the Times there.
All right, and it is a very heated debate, as we know. There is some support for Donald Trump out there.
Well, The Guardian is looking at Republicans' reactions to his new travel ban. Some Republicans have welcomed the revised travel ban, hailing the decision to exclude Iraq, where, of course, around 5,000 U.S. troops are currently on the ground fighting alongside Iraqi forces to defeat the Islamic State group. For instance, Lindsey Graham, a South Carolina Republican who opposed the initial travel ban, actually hails the revised version, saying that the White House has been careful this time in not presenting it specifically as a Muslim ban. One columnist in the Washington Post even says Trump has done the right thing for once. He says kudos to him. The writer saying he has, quote, heeded the voices of reason in the Pentagon and State Department and realized that slighting Iraqis with this sort of ill-considered move was a gift to the IS group.
A gift to headline writers next from Ben Carson, one of Donald Trump's ministers. He's caused some uproar with comments about slaves.
Outrageous comments that has provoked a backlash on Twitter and across the media. Carson is Housing and Urban Development Secretary, and in a speech to his future employees, he said that essentially there were other immigrants who came to America in the bottom of slave ships, I quote there, essentially calling slaves immigrants. And as you can imagine, this has really created uproar.
There's not much choice in being a slave, is there?
No,
As in
exactly.
being an immigrant, even if you're fleeing something.
And
it's an element of choice.
Exactly. And that exactly is what people are criticizing, this comparison that slaves somehow willingly came over when in fact it's not true. For instance, Leonard Green, a columnist for the New York Daily News, has written a powerful piece saying that Carson has simultaneously extolled the virtues of America and sugarcoated the ugliest period in U.S. history. USA Today is reporting that Twitter users have been tweeting their criticism. This Twitter user here, for instance, might be signaling what Michelle Obama would be thinking about Carson's comments.
Yes, I do wonder if we might get some more comment throughout the day. We'll move on to some diplomatic tensions that we've been reporting on between Malaysia and North Korea. Some tit-for-tat action now. Citizens from both countries impacted on quite a major level.
That's right. This really has become a diplomatic crisis between the two countries ever since the assassination of the North Korean leader's half-brother in Malaysia. Pyongyang has prohibited Malaysian citizens in North Korea from leaving. Mainly that concerns embassy staff. And now the Malay Mail Online reports that Malaysia is preventing North Korean diplomats from leaving in what you said is a tit-for-tat situation. The cabinet, the government in Malaysia is going to decide this Friday if it does definitively sever ties with North Korea. Now, the Malaysian Foreign Affairs Minister has penned a piece in the New Straits Times, which is a pro-government newspaper in Malaysia, basically saying that expelling the North Korean ambassador was not a knee-jerk reaction. He says it came after other channels, diplomatic channels, were exhausted and because the ambassador had, quote, lost credibility. The minister warns that severing ties is not easy, but I quote, rest assured, the ministry will not shirk its duty to take that final step if necessary.
All right, it's a story now about a country that we don't talk about all that often, Bahrain. The government there taking steps to crack down, or to ban, rather, the main opposition party.
Well, The Guardian reports that the Justice Ministry on Monday moved to dissolve the country's main opposition party called WAD, saying it supports terrorism and sanctions terror-related violence. It comes after the upper house of parliament approved an amendment on the weekend allowing civilians to be tried by military court. Now, it's provoked some reactions, one in a Bahraini paper called Al Watan. But in support of the government, the writer says, well, this is good for, quote, traitors of Bahrain and those who are essentially around against the government. Important to note, though, that Bahrain is a very important country strategically to the U.S.
Certainly is. All right, finally, we've just got time for something a little bit lighter. News of a second life for an endangered turtle.
Her name is Bank, and she's a 25-year-old endangered green turtle who BuzzFeed says lived in agony for years because she swallowed close to 1,000 coins tossed in her pond as a sign of good luck in Thailand. Anyway, citizens have rallied together now to get her operated. Her operation was 4 hours long and took 5 vets.
Wow.
But now she'll be on a liquid diet for the next week, so no more money grabbing for her.